Hello, welcome to another World Constitutional Day, a traditional event that takes place on August 1st of each year, and in which we can talk a little about the theme that involves the federal constitutions around the world. My name is Luis Fernando Rodrigues Pinto Jr., I'm Brazilian, and I'm a public prosecutor for the Public Ministry of São Paulo, working now in the office of the Attorney General of Justice as a special advisor for electoral matters. In previous years, I talked to you about the profile of the Brazilian public ministry in the federal constitution and also about the Brazilian electoral system. Today, we're going to talk in a few words about some relevant themes that takes place in the Brazilian Federal Constitution and North American Federal Constitution. Remembering that the Constitution is the set of laws, norms, and rules of a country or an institution. It regulates and organizes the functioning of the state and is the maximum law that limits powers and defines the rights and duties of citizens. No other law in the country may conflict with the Constitution. Historically, the processes that led to elaboration of the US Constitution and the various Brazilian constitutions are very different. And this theme required a long speech about the history of independence of each country, which today does not fit in this space. But suffice it to say that the US Constitution is the same since its creation in 1787, with restricted articles and success with only 27 amendments. While in Brazil, we have already had 8 different constitutions. The one drawn up in 1988, which is extensive, remaining in force, 245 articles, and another 70 in the so-called transitory provisions, and has more than 120 amendments, therefore extremely analytical and with devices that go beyond the pertinent theme of a federal constitution. It can be said that the Constitution of the United States is of the customary and flexible type, and that the Constitution of the Federative Republic of Brazil of 1988 is written, rigid, and detailed. Both constitutions make clear the idea of who elaborated them out of a commitment to society, whether by the Founding Fathers in the experience of the Philadelphia Convention in the USA in the early 18th century, or by the members elected to the National Constituent Assembly in Brazil that culminated with the 1988 text. As one of the main points that call our attention, we have that the Brazilian Constitution presents an extensive list of fundamental rights in the text itself, while in the USA, fundamental rights are guaranteed mainly by the first 10 constitutional amendments, the Bill of Rights. Let's cite some foreseen rights without being exhausted here, okay? First, the amendments to the US Constitution. The First Amendment deals with freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition to government. The second, to the right to keep and bear arms. The third talks about protection from military occupation of private residences. The fourth provides protection against unlawful searches and seizures. The fifth deals with due process of law, protection against self-incrimination, and double trial for the same crime, as well as a guarantee of fair compensation in case of expropriation. in following amendments, we have provisions of the right to a public, speedy, and impartial trial and to counsel, right to a trial by a jury in civil cases involving substantial amounts, protection against excessive bail, cruel and unusual fines and punishments, and protection of rights not expressly mentioned in the Constitution. It follows the reservation of powers to the state and the people that are not expressly attributed to the federal government by the Constitution, and the guarantee to all citizens equality before the law and the equal protection of the laws. There are other forecasts, but we will leave it at that, because we are more interested in norms relating to citizens and not those relating to organization. In the Federal Constitution of Brazil, we have an extensive list of fundamental rights. We can name a few. On individual and collective rights, we have the right to life, freedom, equality, security, and property, inviolability of the home, correspondence, and communications, freedom of expression, information, religious belief, and conscience, right of assembly and association, full access to justice and habeas corpus, and presumption of innocence and due process of law. As for social rights, provisions protecting work, housing, food, education, health, leisure, security, social security, maternity and childhood protection, and assistance to the homeless. In addition to worker rights such as minimum wage, working hours, paid vacations, maternity and paternity leave, unemployment insurance, retirement, among many others. As for political rights, the right to vote and be voted for, plebiscite, referendum, and popular initiative. By the way, about this subject, my last year's lecture, which is on the World Constitutional Day page, goes into depth on this subject in full. Both countries have established systems for reviewing the constitutionality of laws. In Brazil, control takes place in a concentrated and diffuse manner, and the Federal Supreme Court is the guardian of the federal constitution. In the USA, control is based on the diffuse system of judicial review, with the power of the courts to review the constitutionality of laws and governmental acts. The Supreme Court is the highest guardian of the Constitution. Much more can be analyzed by comparing the two constitutions, and this is a broad topic that calls for in-depth study. However, the main message we can leave is that the mere existence of constitutions allows us to affirm that both Brazil and the United States of America are free, democratic countries in which the will of the people is what should move political decisions without leaving aside the affirmation that the balance of laws and their application brings us the best paths in the search for an increasingly fair society. Happy World Constitutional Day 2023. Thank you very much.